In addition to being able to animate objects procedurally by using things like the wind deformer and the MoGraph random effector, we can actually go the more traditional keyframe route and utilize some of Cinema 4D's robust animation workflows. Let's go ahead and let's get out of our camera view here by clicking on that viewfinder icon and deactivating it. So now we're just freely looking around our scene without moving our camera. And I'm also going to go into my object manager here and just turn off all of those fishbowl objects so we can be able to select all of these different parts of the crab without the fishbowl being in the way. And what we're going to do is if I twirl down this left arm group, you'll see there is the bend deformer there, and the bend deformers aren't actually showing up in our viewport because previously we went up to our filter menu and we just hid all of the deformers from showing up in our viewport view. If we want to see them again, we can reactivate the deformer filter, and now you can see all of our deformer bounding boxes in here. You can see there is our bend deformer, and basically what we're going to do is add some animation to the crab and maybe have just the arms kind of go back and forth, just a very simple animation. And the way we can achieve that is by simply keyframing the strength value of both of these bend deformers in the right and left arm groups, just like this. Now, one thing you'll notice is both of our bend deformers are the exact same name. So when it comes to animating these, we should actually rename these bend deformers so we know which is the left arm bend deformer and which one's the right arm bend deformer. So what I'm going to do is double click on the bend deformer name and just type in left arm bend. And then on the right arm bend, I'll just type in right arm. And then what I can do is hold the control or command key down, select both of these bend deformers, and then I'm going to make sure I'm at frame 0 here. So I'm going to hit this button here that goes to the start of the animation. You can also hit Shift F to go to the start of your animation. So I'm at frame 0, and to set a keyframe, we're going to click and fill in that little keyframe icon there. It's going to turn red, and you're also going to see right down here at frame 0 there is this rectangle, and that denotes that there is a keyframe on this object at this frame. Now let's go ahead and bring up the timeline. You can do this one of two ways. You can hit Shift F3, or you can click this button right here, and that will open up what is called the dope sheet. And what the dope sheet is basically just a view where you can see all of your keyframed parameters. Now you can see that we have our left arm bend and our right arm bend in here, so it's very helpful that we renamed these objects. Otherwise, both of these objects in our timeline would just be named bend. And then you can see there is this rectangular keyframe here, as you can see. And you'll also notice that there are the plus signs here. That means that we can twirl these down. Now, if you have multiple objects here that you want to unfold, instead of manually unfolding them, what you can do is select the objects you want to unfold, go to View, go to Folding, and then you can either unfold selected or unfold all. In our case, both of these are one and the same. I'll just unfold all. And you can see here is our strength parameters that we set keyframes for. So those are the parameters there. So now what we can do is if I hover over each keyframe, you can see what the value is. So negative 47 degrees. If I click on a keyframe and go to the attributes manager over here, you can also see what the key value is, so negative 47. So what I'm going to do first is let's just go to frame 10, and I'm going to set another keyframe. Now, a quick way to set a new keyframe and record the current value at its current state, which again for both of our strength tracks is negative 47. The shortcut key for that is Q, and that will set another keyframe here. And now what I'm going to do is I'll actually have this right arm bend at a higher value. So if I go over to my right arm bend object here, so what I can do is just adjust this value so we got a bigger bend here, so bending towards the eye, and let's go with something like negative 60, okay? Now, we haven't quite recorded a new keyframe yet. You can see that designated by this yellow keyframe icon. That means that a value's been changed but has not yet been recorded on this frame. So what we can do to actually record this updated value is we can right click and go to animation and go to add keyframe. and that will then record that -60 value on this keyframe. So now if I scrub back and forth, you can see we have a little bit of animation here. And if I twirl down this strength track, you can see the animation curve. Now, if I hover right down here, I can make this a little bit taller by clicking and dragging. And here I can select and adjust the Bezier handles here. But I'm not going to mess with that just yet, because what I also want to do is set a new keyframe for this left arm bend. So what I'm going to do is let's go to frame 10. Let's select this last right arm bend keyframe. And while this right claw is kind of bend downwards, we can bend this side up. So let's also use that -60 value. And I can either go into my left arm bend and adjust the value here, or I can select this keyframe. And in that key value, I can just click on that value, and because I know the value I want to change this keyframe to, I can just enter in -60 and hit enter, and now you'll see that we're kind of losing that curve. To see it again, I'm just going to click the strength arrow and click it again, and now I'll see that keyframe. And to navigate in your timeline, you can use the 1 key and the 2 key to pan and zoom into this timeline. So just like the 1 and 2 keys pan and zoom in your viewport. And now we have the claws kind of alternatingly bending. Now to add a little bit more interest, what I'm going to do is right at frame 7 is I'm going to set a new keyframe. So I'm going to hit Q, and that'll set a new keyframe at this current playhead time on both of these strength animation tracks. And for these new keyframes, I'm going to add a little bit of overshoot. So overshoot means that it's going to go a little bit further. Look at this right claw here. You can see we're going to get a little bit of overshoot. So overshoot animation, it's one of the 12 animation principles. If you don't know about the 12 animation principles, definitely check them out. They add for more believable and interesting animations. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's overshoot this value. So we're going a little bit beyond that end value. And if I hit the space bar to play this animation back, you can see we have this really nice overshoot animation there. So now what we're going to do is let's hold this pose for about 10 frames. So I'm going to go 10 frames down to frame 20, hit Q to set new keyframes here, and then we're just going to go and alternate again. So I need to go from -60 back to its -47 starting place. So what I'm going to do is just Command or Control click and drag this keyframe, and I'll drag this all the way out to frame 30. And then for the right arm bend, I'm going to Command or Control click and drag to duplicate that keyframe. And now you can see that we're now going back, but we don't have that overshoot added. And you can kind of compare if you hit the play button by hitting your space bar, that this looks a lot more interesting with that overshoot. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's again go right about here, frame 27, and let's hit Q again to set another keyframe. And then we'll just add some overshoot in this direction and then in this direction. Okay, so we got a little bit of overshoot, and I think that's looking good. Now, if we want to match these values here, we can select this keyframe and let's even this out to -65. And then we'll also do the same thing for this overshoot. So -65. And then for this overshoot, let's call this -40. And we'll do -40 for this one as well. And I'll hit the space bar there. If we want to see this just loop, we can enter in 30 frames in our project time there, and then just click in our timeline and hit the space bar, and we can just see our arms kind of loop just like that. Now I'm going to bring this back to 90 frames like it was before. Now we know we have a 90 frame animation, so if we wanted this to loop, we should probably have the animation do a full loop at 45 frames, and then it can loop again to reach 90. So what I'm going to do is let's actually move these keyframes down. And since we have this pause right here of about 10 frames where the claws move and then they rest, let's actually add this at the top as well. So I'm going to select both of these keyframes, Command and Control, click and drag. And now you can see we have a rest of about 15 frames here, but only a rest about 10 frames here. So we can select these keyframes, move these down, and try to even this out. And it's not going to be perfect because if we divide 2 by 45, that's not an even number. So we have 13 frames of rest here, and then over here we have about 12 frames of rest in this rest state, and that's pretty good. Now, let's go ahead and easily loop this track by selecting both of these strength values here by holding the Command and Control key down. And then if we go to this after, we can actually choose whether we want to loop, to repeat it, to offset repeat, to oscillate. And what we're going to be looking for is just to simply have this track repeat. And you'll see this adds this animation track as it repeats the animation just before it. So you can follow this down. It holds because it's starting here, and then it continues on. So if we hit the space bar to play again, you can see we have this nice looping crab animation here. Now, what if we wanted to make this animation a little bit snappier? Well, you'd want to select your curves and adjust your Bezier handles to adjust the spacing of your animation. But you'll notice in your dope sheet view, you can't adjust multiple Bezier handles at once. Now, to be able to do that and adjust multiple Bezier handles at the same time, we are going to go over into our F-curve manager. And to do that, we can either click on this F-curve mode icon here or hit the tab key. Okay, so what we can do now, I can use my 2 key to zoom in or out, to zoom up or to the side to be able to maximize my view. I can use the 1 key to pan, or if I want to center up all of my curves, I can hit the H key, and that will frame up and fill up my entire view with my animation curves. Awesome. So now if I click and drag, I can select both of these Bezier handles, and I can move them at the same time. Now, if I hold the Command or Control key down, I can constrain that Bezier handle to stay flat by maintaining its current angle. If I hold the Shift key down, I can actually break those Bezier handles there, but I'm going to undo that, Command or Control Z. And what I'm going to do is just hold the Control or Command key down just to make this a little bit more of a snappier animation here. Now, you might be wondering, okay, if I have this Bezier handle looking good, how do I match the Bezier handles over here if you want them to be perfectly in balance? And what you can do is actually go into this Bezier handle here, and you'll see this left and right time. If I adjust the left time, you'll see that the right time will also change as well. This is just how many frames long your Bezier handle is. So this one is 4.89 frames. And if I select this keyframe, you can see it's 3.93. So we're just off by a little bit. So what I can do is just click in this value here, Command or Control C, and then go to this value, and then just Command or Control V to paste that, and that will update that. And you'll see this is the same value for this curve. So let's go and match that there as well. Now, as far as these curves, we can match these as well. So Command Control C to copy. And you can see that all of these values are grayed out, but if I just click and drag, you'll see this will allow us to be able to change this. So I'll just go ahead and paste those values in there. And if I hit the space bar, you can see we have a nice snappy animation there. And I think what I'll do is I'll select all 4 of these handles, hold the Control key down, and I can adjust all of these handles all at once. Something like this. And I'd say that's looking pretty good. So this is where, if you know how to animate in any other app like Adobe After Effects, all of that knowledge perfectly translates over to the world of animating in 3D, utilizing your 12 principles of animation, using those overshoot, overlapping action principles to make your animation look a lot more interesting and pleasing to the eye.